Okay, guys, lesson 2.6. This is apply proportional reasoning to solve problems. Your essential question, how can you tell whether proportional reasoning will help you solve a problem? Now, the whole point here is I put these all in fraction form so we can solve these problems this way. This is a different way of looking at it. Each one of the problems I'm going to do today is just going to be like this, okay? So in example 1 of this lesson, they talked about Deshaun and Stephanie, and they had a ratio of 5-2 with 36, okay? Now, what we should realize here is in order for us to get to 36 from 2, with them being a ratio of 5-2, we're going to multiply by 18. So that's why I put these extra boxes in here. If I multiply by 18, I get 36. In order to keep that ratio correct, I'm going to have to multiply by 18 here also. When I multiply by 18 there, then I get 90. Then they ask us to divide each one of these by 2. So that's where the section comes in. So I'm going to divide it by 2, and I'm going to have 45 and 18. Now realize this is still a ratio that's equal to the 5-2. Okay, if I divide each one of these by 9, then I'm going to get 5 and 2. So the ratios are still equal. However, what they want us to do now is to add 9 to each one. Now, when I add 9 to each one, I get 54 and 27. And they want to know if it's still going to have a ratio of 5-2. But obviously it's not. We're going to go through and reduce this and see that. If I divide each one by 27, this becomes a 2-to-1 ratio. So this is not equal to the 5-2, but the 9 and 36 and 45 and 18 are. Now, if you look at this carefully, guys, you'll see what's going on. As long as we multiply those numbers by something or divide them by something, and it's both the same, then it's going to stay as a proportional ratio, okay? But if we add, it may by coincidence, but it's not going to regularly. Okay, so if we add or subtract, it's not going to stay proportional. Okay, guys? All right, let's go to the next one. Now we have example 3. Now, example 3, they're talking about white and red roses. Okay, and so I did this a little bit differently. They said they have a 50-to-7 ratio. Okay, and they want to know what different ways could they adjust it because they have 10,050 roses to 140. Okay, now there's 2 different ways they can adjust it. Okay, so what they're saying is we need it to be proportional. Right now it's not. Okay, if I multiply this by 20, I will get 140. So in other words, I could do 140 divided by 7 and get multiplied by 20. So I should be able to multiply, to keep this proportional, we multiply this by 20 also. But if I multiply this by 20, it's not going to be 1,050, it's going to be 1,000. So in other words, we need to order 50 less white roses for it to stay proportional. Okay? Let's look at it the other way. So again, I have 1,050 and I have 140. So we're going to look at this one now. If I multiply 50 by 21, then I get 1,050 white roses. But in order to keep it proportional, I'd multiply this by 21, but I would need to then order 147 red roses. So in order to keep these proportional to the 50-to-7 ratio, they either need to order 1,000 white roses and 140 red roses, or they can order 1,050 white roses and 147 red roses. So we have to keep it proportional. In other words, always be multiplying by the same thing when they give you a proportion. Okay, guys? Okay, so last one. Now this is kind of interesting here. Okay, so this is an actual problem from quiz number 5, and it's not the easiest one. So I wanted to do this one with you guys. So I'm going to read you the question. Okay, so I'm going to read it to you. Great, huh? It says, in a florist shop, the ratio of roses to tulips is 5 to 3. So you can see what I'm going to do is roses to tulips, 5 to 3. Okay, so that's the way we line it up. The shop has 72 tulips on Friday morning. So I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to put 72 here so I can figure out what do I need to multiply this by to get 72. You see what I'm doing here? And it says, how will the ratio of the roses of the tulips change if the florist uses half of each type of flower to fill an order for a wedding? Okay, let's take this little by little. So first of all, if I divide 72 by 3, I get 24. So I'm multiplying by 24 here. So let's find out how many roses we have. Multiply by 24. If I multiply 24 by 5, I'm going to get 120. Now, I know because it's a 5 to 3 ratio, we have 120 roses to 72 tulips. So now what we need to look at is the next step. And what they're saying is that if they sell half of the roses, each type of the flower, to fill an order for a wedding. So in other words, we're going to divide this by 2, or it's also multiplying. That's the same as multiplying by 1/2. Okay, so both of those are actually equivalent. Okay, and so if we do that, then I get 60 here, right, and 36 here. So right now, so I didn't have enough room, so I'm going to move this down here. We have, if they sell half of them, they have 60 roses and 36 tulips. Okay? And what they want to know is, can we prove that it is the same ratio? It's still equivalent to the 5 to 3. Now, what you should know is, just by looking at it this way, we only multiplied by something and then divided by something, or multiplied 2. Since we did that, this should be equal, but we're going to prove it. And the way we do that is we're going to divide by its greatest common factor. In other words, if I divide this by 12 and I divide this by 12, we still end up with 5 over 3, which is the same. So we end up with the same ratio, okay? So when you answer number 5 quiz on 2.6, make sure that you have these notes down. Okay, guys? All right. Make sure you're taking your notes, watching the lectures so you can get your points. All right, guys? We'll talk to you later.